at R6 NAL Doa Jesse. Jacob here with you at the desk. We're going to go into XSET versus DarkZero. This one's going to be good. I'm telling you, I've got a feeling because the stats are the standings rather that we're going to take a look at. Obviously, we'll tell part of the story there, and that XSET has gone on an absolute tear, winning 4 in a row right now, very decisively. DarkZero right behind them, though. And again, those final spots for the teams that go to the major are still very much up for grabs with these two teams.
Yeah, I still called XSET a dark horse. I'm going to stand by that. They've got an extremely hard schedule for their last 3 games, and the first one of this gauntlet that they have to run is DZ to start with, just below them in the standings. DarkZero is still expected to go to international competition. They said themselves they expect to go to every major, but they have also got a pretty tall task in front of them because I feel like XSET could be the perfect counter to DarkZero's typical standard NA defining playstyle.
Yeah, you called XSET the dark horse. I said it was DZ. I think they can make it to that top 4 spot, but it's going to be very tough for them as well. They also have a lot of really top teams coming up in their schedule. XSET likely to be one of the easier that they have starting off. That doesn't mean it's going to be an easy matchup, though. XSET are going to be very, very tough because they've been on such a hot streak recently. DarkZero have won their last 2, but that's not quite as impressive as XSET's last 4.
Well, it's funny, too, because you see teams like Space Station right there, kind of lurking. And they're going to definitely put some wins on the board, too, and still make a threat. So it's going to be close. But let's dive into this one. Let's take a look at DarkZero specifically now. Now, DarkZero, you said quintessential NA style. It's been solid, but is it going to be enough to carry them over the finish line against a team like XSET that's been so explosive lately?
I mean, the reason I think this is XSET countering DarkZero pretty perfectly is the difference in attacking game plans, because DarkZero are slow to a point where they want everything perfect, and then they'll go for the execute. So sometimes in the early round, it takes a little while for them to warm up. XSET are not like that in the slightest. So when DZ play defense, that switch needs to be the single most impactful thing in this game. They need to highlight those weaknesses that XSET have had on the attack, ensure that they shut down the early game from XSET, because that's their bread and butter.
Yeah, some stats for DarkZero that back up what you're saying, Jacob. DZ have the worst opening pick rate in the league, but the best conversion rate.
Yeah.
So they're struggling in that early round to get that advantage, but when they get it, they're so structured, they're so well put together that they're always able to close it out. So the solution is very clearly win more opening engagements. That conversion should continue on. It feels like on attack, too many of those gunfights are going to guys like NJR and Canadian, who have just not really been able to win a lot of those gunfights. Feels like the trend that we're seeing for a lot of the teams is that if you want an opening engagement and you're playing on attack, bring an LMG, bring a Finka. We saw Iconic really dominate in that area at the start of the day. And while Hyper's been doing that, Hyper's 6-0 on entry on attack. Excuse me, the rest of his teammates who have not been rocking LMGs have not been as successful. So maybe if Hyper can get a little bit more active in those entries on attack, on defense, nobody's winning anything. So there needs to be a new solution there when it comes to entries. But certainly for DarkZero, if they can get that one thing sorted out, they could be a very strong team.
Yeah, it feels like they're just almost there. Like they're barely there to being truly a dominant team. You mentioned the defense as well. I believe we got some stats for NJR to take a look at that and go a little bit deeper into it. You said there's something significant there.
I don't know what happened. Somewhere along the line, NJR quietly became one of the best smokes in the world, and nobody told me. Nobody said to me, Jesse, you got to watch out for this NJR kid. But time and time again, I'm watching DZ, and I'm noticing his play on smoke. 4 out of the 6 games that DarkZero have played in the league so far, he's been the highest rated defensive player, not on the team, but in the lobby. Versus TSM, it was a very close second place to Hyper. Parabellum was a bit of a rough game. The SMG 11 play on this kid is insane. I've been loving the way that he's been able to rock that. Currently, I believe the 2nd highest rated defensive player.
Just behind Vertical.
Insane, 38 and 21 KD going on, 3 clutches. He's been fantastic on that defensive half. Even when he has to flex off of smoke a couple of times, I've noticed he's really strong on the Maestro as well. He can go for some fun impact tricks and really have a big impact there. So Nick, NJR, I think he's been really, really putting in work for DZ on the defensive side. Hasn't converted to enough wins, though, is the problem. He'll put in a big individual performance on smoke, and then sometimes the rest of his team lets him down. So I want to see everybody kind of building around him today.
He's going to be a really good last bastion, the good anchor player for DarkZero, but that can't be the thing that they can rely on. Yeah, he is a better smoke player than many of the others. He's better than Iconic, Forrest, Kino, Bosco, Dream. He's got so many of these players beat, but DZ need to work on the early game defense too. They have to counter XSET at the source and say, if they're going to make a fast entry attempt, we need to stop them there. They need to hunt down the spots where XSET are attempting to enter the building, and if it ever gets down to NJR, he needs to be the last resort. That man is never going to leave the site, even if his life depends on it. He will stay there and try to clutch up. But if it gets down to NJR, which it feels like it has a lot for DarkZero, that's a sign that there are some things on their defenses and sometimes with their roam games that don't work out because you have to keep relying on your last line of defense, which isn't really a reliable strategy long term for them.
You need contributions from everyone on the team, right?
Yeah.
It can't be always one person saving the day in the end, because no matter how good they may be at that, there's always going to be those rounds where they can't quite get over the finish line, right? And then you're going to lose that round if no one else is around. So have to keep that in mind. Their opponents on the other side, though, as we take our final look at DZ getting set up for this match, it's going to be XSET. And this is a team that just a couple weeks ago, we were talking about how hopeless they looked on attack. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. That is not the case anymore for this team. They have been devastating. Their defense is good too. This team has kind of emerged very suddenly as arguably a total package team. Still some refining again that needs to be done, but overall, things are going great for XSET coming into this one.
Dude, I love this team. These guys are demons on attack. What the funny part is, they had it was like 17 of the last 20 attacks that they've had over their past 4 games, to a point where they had gotten attack first, and we almost saw none of their defenses because they would always play their first half, minimum 6 rounds, and would usually get like a 5-1, 4-2 half on attack nearly every single time. But they're still the total package. When they play on attack, they are demons of vertical clear. Everyone's individual gun skill is on point. It feels like Gomez has turned into a homing missile. That first week was a really bad one, but then he jumps back in these last 2. He's had a massive statistical resurgence, especially when he's getting opening frags. Executes still seem a little bit shaky, like we mentioned, so when they get to that late game, that is where there's more of a concern. But gunplay and trust in teammates usually still wins them that late game if they're in good positions. So if the early game is good, the clear is good, they've got map control very early, then once you get to the late round, you have to hope everyone's positioned appropriately, else they might still struggle there a little bit.
XSET have lost 2 attacking rounds over the last 2 weeks.
There we go.
That's insane. They lost 1 round because Spirits naded himself against Beast Coast. And they lost
that happens sometimes.
They lost 1 round because they didn't drone and walked into shotguns against Mirage. That one was a little rough, but still, it shows how dominant they've been on this attacking half, and I expect to see that continue.
Right, well, we can expect to see where they're going in just a moment, because it's about time to check out the map bans for this one. XSET seemingly kind of a threat on anything they play right now, but what do you kind of expect to see?
I don't know. We could go a couple different places here. We'll get the initial bans out of the way first. Border coming through. This is one that has been very good for DZ against the Sonics. They had a pretty strong performance, not one that we've seen really come out from XSET so far. Cafe, the next ban that they're going to take away. That was actually old XSET's favorite map. New XSET, not a fan of it, yet to play it so far. DZ, Skyscraper, Chalet to start things off. Chalet is one that XSET have played a lot. DZ have never played this stage going forward, and I would say it was quite strong performances from XSET when we saw that. Theme Park coming through, that's a permaban coming forward from XSET. And then coming up next, the Skyscraper, I do want to also comment, permaban for DarkZero. So all of those to be expected. Oregon is one that XSET won 7-0, and DarkZero, their history so far, losing it to a straw. So currently it seems like classic permabans followed up with maps that these teams have just noticed their opponents playing quite well on.
Yeah, and the last couple here, we have Bank, Villa, and Clubhouse still left. XSET are opting to ban Bank because DarkZero have already won it, and XSET themselves are 1-1 so far this season, so you can't really use recency bias here. And the last one is between Villa and Club, and DarkZero themselves, they're 1-1, and XSET are undefeated on Villa. So I think it should swing the way where we go to Clubhouse, because we've not seen this map played so far between either of these squads. So when it comes down to these last couple of maps, XSET decide, do we want to chance DarkZero on a map they're good at? And DarkZero say, we don't want to chance XSET on a map they're still undefeated on for the stage. So we go to a more neutral playing field. The difficulty is that DarkZero on Clubhouse, usually pretty proficient. They've played this one to a T several times in the past, and XSET is still a new roster. If you like new maps, kind of like what Slash was talking about in the Beast Coast interview, go to new ones because you know your chemistry still needs to be there. You don't want to chance like classic teams on maps that have been in the pool for quite some time. But you're going to Club against DarkZero. I mean, statistically, how does that fare for them, right?
I like my my org stats, you know that, my little factoids. XSET as an organization have never won Clubhouse in the history of their time in Siege over a year.
Different team.
I know, but you know, for the fans, technically Rent-Free won it back against Altiora.
Oh my
Neither
God,
of those
we're
teams
not
exist
summoning
anymore.
Rent-Free stats on this desk, Jesse.
That's where we
He
have
likes
to get
his stats, and I
to find
appreciate
those
that.
Clubhouse stats when you're looking for dubs for XSET. It's tough.
All right. Well, there you go. It's a new era, though. It's a new XSET. We'll see what they can do. It's certainly certainly will be a big test, but that's what we like because that might mean a close map. Let's find out what our casters have to say, though, about their predictions. It's going to be Blue and Stokes again. This one's a little bit harder to call, I feel like.
Yeah, certainly agree with that one. A lot closer and very much like a clash of two play styles between DZ and what we've been seeing out of XSET, this kind of explosive in-your-face play from XSET, and DZ still giving us that very slow, very team-oriented style. Personally, I feel like XSET's just a little bit on the stronger side of that right now, and I also feel like their strategy is favored in the current meta, so I'm going to go with them today versus DarkZero.
Very well said, John. I'm going to have to go with all of the same reasons because I think that XSET is just playing lights out Siege right now. I'd say that the only factor of this matchup that I'm kind of scared of is the fact that we're going to Clubhouse and Canadian just so happens to be on the other team. So there's definitely always some really weird things that could happen here, but, you know, I just got to call it for XSET at this point.
All right, so statistics not factoring into it too much as far as not as far as the Clubhouse side of things goes anyway. So both casters going for XSET. My analyst. What do you got? Jesse, we'll go with you first here.
Yeah, it feels like a fair call. I mean, right now, XSET are the best attacking team in the entire league, 0.1% above what Auction are putting up on attack. So coming in against DZ, they're going to need a really strong defensive performance. A lot of that likely going to have to come from NJR, but I think that's a tough ask for this team. I'm going to go XSET, and I think that they should be favored in this matchup.
I can't really go against XSET, so I'll pick them, but the rationale is different. Clubhouse doesn't present nearly as scary of a problem for a team like XSET because they won on Oregon. I'm not saying the two maps play similarly, but it's not as though XSET need a map that's way more wide open. They're comfortable playing ones with more confined, tight corridors. And on that attack, I'm more worried about DarkZero not being able to counter the way that XSET have chosen to attack on the map. If they're playing defense, you do have to rely on the roamers a lot, something I think DarkZero aren't nearly as proficient as, and that's a weakness I do think XSET can exploit. They're really, really good at this right now. They're on a hot streak. I say XSET, 5-game win streak. Let's do this, boys.
All right. It seems like everybody's going with the momentum pick, and who can blame them? I mean, XSET has looked amazing lately, but I got to say, the coin's been wrong twice today. Yeah, will it be three in a row? We'll find out. It's going to be heads DarkZero, tails XSET.
Hey, John. Hey, Sam. We're both tied with the coin right now. We're doing it.
This is a big one.
We're doing it.
I'm going to flip it. You ready?
Flip it up.
Oh, my gosh. It's heads again. Third time today.
Nice.
The coin just disagreeing with everyone today, apparently. It's going for DarkZero,
that
but
thing is grouchy, dude.
I'm about to lap it at this point.
I guess so. It's distracted. It wants to pick the upsets. It's discombobulated a little bit, I guess, as well. But hey, I still think this one's a little bit close. We'll see if DarkZero can pull it off. XSET obviously having a great chance too. We have a community poll as well for you to consider. The question being, which team would you rather see at the major, DarkZero or XSET? I think both teams would be fun. Both teams, again, represent different styles. But again, momentum says XSET. Tradition maybe says DarkZero. It's a little bit tough.
I like new things, so I do want to see the new team go. But also having a live event like with a crowd back that doesn't have Canadian kind of seems out of poor taste.
It would be weird. It would be weird. Well, something to mull over as we go to a little bit of a break here. And when we come back, we will get underway with DarkZero versus XSET, a battle to get to the major. We'll see who takes it right after this.
Make a bunch of money, buy my mama a fireplace. We make incredible songs to celebrate and get mad lit. Once upon a time in Hollywood, I'm like Brad Pitt. My homies say I live a life, yeah, just a tad bit. Learning how to move in this rap shit. I told them that the bar raising, we keep moving it up. And no surprises here, they knew it was us. Apologies if I was doing too much, but I always came through in the clutch. An off game don't mean I'm losing my touch. And no excuses, I ain't using a crutch. Apologies if I was doing too much, but I always came through in the clutch.
I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call and quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all of this. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might shield my greed. That's how I get it. Success ain't no giving. Some days I don't eat, I don't sleep. When I'm focused, I'm dangerous. Down, wonder when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank. I'm running on fumes. The opposite.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. More NAL action coming your way here as we get prepared to jump into our next game. One that's bound to be a close one here, as both of these teams have had a resurgence inside of Stage 1 for this season and are looking to carry that forward all the way into a LAN position. Will it be XSET or will it be DarkZero? We'll be finding out very soon as we teleport to the arena in Las Vegas to our teams who are now getting ready to jump into their first round.
A lot of ramifications for this match, John. Both of these teams have the potential to go to Charlotte, North Carolina for the major here in the great state of America. We'll see what they can possibly do here once we get into the server. On today's docket between these two, Clubhouse, which presents quite a few different ways that this could break down. I mean, XSET's been so feisty on most of the maps we've seen them on, but you also have the calculated minds of DarkZero on a map like Club.
And of course, their strategy tending to excel quite a bit on a map like Clubhouse, given the very long-standing way this map has been inside of the meta and how team-oriented executes tend to be. This is where XSET could start to falter, but they've shown us so much strength over these past few weeks, so it would be no surprise really for any of our analysts if they manage to take this one, mostly because we all predicted that they would. So let's see if that's going to be true or if DarkZero has the bounce back today on a map that should surely favor them strategically. Getting into the bans, well, it's going to be DarkZero first for the attacker side of things, followed up by XSET's initial ban, and no surprises there. Thatcher is going to be immediately yeeted out as he has been in prior games.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see what they want to try and remove further past this point. They could possibly throw a spanner in the works. Offensive ban coming in for XSET now. Let's see what the offense will have to deal with. It's going to be Thatcher initially, and then Habana to follow it up, making quite a bit of sense because of the amount of hatch play that we see across Clubhouse.
Of course, the ability to select out those X-Kairos can be quite useful for making some specific hull sets here, just a little bit too useful an operator inside of the attacker side of things on certain maps, this one included. So we'll see her be knocked out. Cade will actually be removed. Generally, we see that corresponding to a Maverick ban, but it makes sense here too, once again, because of the hatch play. Just makes the job of the attackers a little bit easier to pop that open with Maverick or another Heart Breacher. And then, of course, Mira, once again, as she is still on the chopping block more often than not in most cases here. So let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see who will top out this matchup. You can see where the two teams sit inside of our standings at the top of your screen now. DarkZero is number 5, XSET is number 4. These teams have the same exact record and the same exact point share, but XSET does have the advantage at the moment via round differential by a slight amount.
Yeah, only 8 rounds differentiate these two, which is absolutely absurd, honestly. So very close, but this is going to matter even most. The head-to-head gameplay. See which one of them can possibly win out this engagement here on Playday 7. And this Canadian will begin reinforcing things on triple wall. This is already looking like an extended hold for DarkZero as NGR will run all the way up top. Will more than likely be allocating mute gemmers around the area to make sure that the initial clear from XSET takes a little while longer. Now for XSET, this is going to require quite a few moving parts. Usually when it comes to the clear, you really want to set, that flush up where you can potentially push the players across the top floor into, some angles that are unbeknownst to them that your team has already set up on the other side of the map and potentially get those kills while they're trying to get back downstairs.
It's important to remember to go back to our point system here, too. Not only do both of these teams want to win this one in the event that they end up in a tie towards the end of the stage, but keep in mind, of course, if you win it inside of regulation, you get that extra point, which may help you to not have to worry about that tiebreaker scenario here. So both these teams are going to be wanting the full 3 instead of just the 2 they would get from an overtime victory, or even the 1 or 0 they could get from a loss. Into the action we go, though, and as Stokes was mentioning, quite a bit of an extended setup here for DZ. Already going to start to see it get torn apart a little bit, though, as Diaz is going to open up access to the main balcony here. That doesn't mean he's going to have it for free. You've got Hyper watching out the window on the cross, and another player also supporting his position from inside of Cash.
This is great so far for XSET that they're already showing signs of life. You have to be happy about this if you are a fan at home because they're not questioning what the clear is looking like. That's the biggest thing. Spirits already has a nice cutoff here for lower lounge. Pambazoo's going to work his way in with the potential to get a frag here, but all of his shots are going to go wide and they know where he is now. He has to worry about this cross, but luckily enough for him, that door frame to get into secret stairs is blocked by a concrete wall. No potential for XSET to try and pick that up, but instead it's Canadian to take down Gomez.
A flood of DarkZero players moving through bar right now, but Spirit's just a little too slow to catch any of them, unfortunately. NJR nearly grabbed by him, but he gets into the doorway just a tad too quickly, so only loses about half of his HP. XSET are down a player, and are likely not going to have a chance to correct that deficit until they work their way into the basement, now that everyone from DarkZero has successfully fallen back. XSET certainly has their work cut out for them now on the outset of this first round.
Well, what a great drone here from Hyper. I'm assuming that our friend Spirits had no idea until that cross that was actually a Mozzie drone. They know exactly where he is at the moment, and DarkZero have done a bang-up job of delaying time on their extended hold. They didn't lose a single body, as well as they picked up Gomez. Pre-prep Nitro Cell here inside of Kitchen, just awaiting any of the XSET members who, as we were just talking about, a little worse for wear at the moment, so they do not want to overextend themselves into a preposterous situation if they do so choose. Yaga does have the skeleton key, so he'll be able to connect some of the dots here inside of Kitchen, most notably the kitchen hallway, where he'll be able to make those extended angles that will be quite the nuisance to deal with Hyper and Canadian.
So just under a minute to go. XSET, no huge progress on making that descent into the basement just yet, but they are going to be changing that up quite soon. As the time trickles down, their ability to actually execute into the site gets less and less prominent, on top of their ability to actually access this lower floor to begin with. XSET unfortunately very behind schedule due to their inability to deal with the extended game, or at least keep their player count even throughout the process of it. Not going to have time to try and open up one of these walls fully here. Just going to have to hold back Eclipse. Should have noticed the hole in the wall, but apparently he's not going to react to it. Diaz lands one right on top of his head, and that evens out the exchange, but only 20 seconds left here. This is still going to be a rough execute. A second nade lands itself truly, and now a third kill is found by Spirits also. He takes down Hyper. Suddenly it's XSET with the player advantage, but NJR, he's still got the M590 at a close choke point here. Yaga, he's got to swing himself forward and support Diaz in the plant, but Canadian sneaks right by him. There'll be no time left for Yaga to reattempt this. He'll try to go for it, but no, time is up, and so many sneaky kills lead to a chaotic round as DarkZero just barely take it back under their control.
I thought that was a DarkZero round all across the board going into that last minute, but I mean, they show a little bit too much face, and XSET almost take it back. Luckily enough, Canadian, the IGL for DZ, lying in wait inside of Armory, creeps around the box and picks up the planner. DZ will get away with the first round after a fantastic roam game. At least bags them a singular kill.
So unfortunate for XSET, as they seem to have a promising comeback, especially after their utility was deployed. Perfect usage of the frag grenades coming out there, both of them landing directly on top of their intended target from the DarkZero side of things, which is not enough time to properly get themselves out onto the site. Had to panic rush things, leading to a few more deaths than they would have liked to tolerate inside of that situation, and ultimately not enough control to stop their planter from being denied. DZ lead, but just barely here at 1-0, as they won't go to cash room. Instead, they'll head over to gym and bedroom for their second site defense. And we'll see an interesting operator, one we don't get too often anymore. The Bandit coming out for Canadian to try and reinforce these walls since Kate is not available.
Yes, indeed. Got to make sure that XSET have to work in order to get these walls open. That's exactly what they'll do. Diaz is bringing the Maverick, so more than likely the Torch will be used to get open Jacuzzi and all the other walls that they have to try and go for past this point. For DarkZero, they'll only have the Bandit to try and play Denial with. Yes, they'll have some impacts, but that's not really going to play into, especially the Jacuzzi wall. They could potentially use it for some other things, but past that, it's going to be all on the Bandit batteries of Canadian. Fortunately enough for him, he still has that MP7 and Nitro Cell in the kit, so going to be quite useful going forward whenever he gets into some hot water.
Diaz already starting to work on opening up the Jacuzzi balcony for himself. Canadian will be nearby, but as Stokes is mentioning, Canadian can't really do much about this. Diaz has the hard counter to him, so the best thing Canadian can hope for is that POV of another player is peeped through the hole that was made, and maybe he can sneak a kill off on this. Meanwhile, the timing of him running past the main stairs window a little bit dodgy there, but once again makes it out. Everyone from DarkZero will stay alive, and okay, at full HP up until the Spirits fight, that is. Once again, everybody's still at full HP, surprisingly enough. Spirits making impact more on the metal bars than the player on the other side.
Yeah, how to terrify a Siege player. Just sprint across an open angle that you didn't know was open. That's one of those things that will always jumpstart your heart. So here we go for XSET. Haven't been able to find their mark just yet for DarkZero. They did get that window open, but nobody holding the actual angle as Canadian crossed that for the wall. And speaking of the wall, Jacuzzi's now open, so XSET has gotten some work done here. They have Spirits and Gomez down low, but speaking of Spirits, he gets gunned down from Canadian, who has found his mark time and time again today. Hyper's going to go searching, but he'll find Gomez on an angle that he was not exactly ready for. He'll now go down, and it's a 4 versus 4 here at 1:20.
Exchange from XSET much quicker this time, but so is the initial kill. Kino with a beautiful cutoff against Panba nearly ends his life.
What?
And oh, Panba trying to recommit to that, thinking he might have been able to sneak off the headshot. Instead, it's his shoulder that gets chipped off here. He goes down. No confirmation on it just yet, so a slight chance that someone from the first floor might be able to get him back up, but we'll follow up on that in a few moments. And things have grown very tense with the downing of Panba. Neither XSET nor DarkZero want to be the one to make the initial move here, but obviously XSET will be forced into it eventually due to a lack of time.
Well, beautiful situation now presented to DarkZero. As the last of the impacts goes out, it'll stop the last Selma charge. The bathroom has been sealed, but Gomez gets a kill onto Pambazoo. XSET have the man advantage to try and pressure this situation to potentially trade out for kills. They'll take down NJR after he won't be allowed to pick up any XSET member. Canadian now downs Gomez. Eclipse has to step up to the plate and do something here. Can he win out this engagement? He knows one's here, but it's an ill-advised swing from Kino. He runs into Logi and gets gunned down for it. It's a 2 versus 2. Nobody has case control, but Yaga has Canadian. It's left up to Eclipse inside of the bathroom with a lot of bullets along his side.
They know he's alone here, too, and they've already established his position, so just a matter of figuring out how to isolate him out in the 1v2 here with only 10 seconds remaining. They do need to make this play quickly. There's the first cutoff attempt. The second one is what seals the deal, though. Yaga picking up the last bullet this time for XSET and shutting down Eclipse, giving this round over to the XSET boys as they tie it up at 1-1.
A very patient version of XSET there. I think DarkZero did a lot, especially in the initial opener to punish them, especially around the Jacuzzi wall. I personally didn't like how Pambazoo really worked the main stairs. I think it was overcompensation for the situation that they were currently at. If anything, Pambazoo just gave the reins over to XSET, was like, hey, here's an easy way back into the round.
He lets them up to Logi with killing himself.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a little bit too much there, but I mean, all things considered, DarkZero still had a pretty good chance, especially for Canadians positioning inside of that one. It was really XSET that just ripped it from their grasp. So very well done for them to play that situation out in the way that they did.
A lot of like all or nothing fights seemingly going down there, especially for the players on DarkZero that were in charge of the site. They're just holding like these pixel angles, trying to get either a headshot or they would be outright killed. And unfortunately, a lot of those shots for DZ just not really landing where they needed to. So after that initial kill against Panba, XSET didn't really seem to have much else of an issue, except for like 1 or 2 players going down there, trading out the rest of that and getting onto the site.
Absolutely. Well, now for round 3, DarkZero will switch things up, and it seems we are going to CCTV for the very first time here on Clubhouse, which means we have to defend this garage. So how will this be done? I mean, for you guys at home, it's more than likely with Azami. She's not in for pro play just yet, so we won't have that. But nowadays, it is indeed all up to those concrete circles to hold down this balcony for the most part. But back to reality where we are now, it's mostly going to be a lot of ADSs and my discs to try and keep Eclipse alive while he tries to pelt any offensive member pushing in either the garage panels or the front garage door.
So Eclipse just patiently waiting there right above the breach to potentially fend off some of this counteraction from XSET. Now Spirits, another member of the team, might try to entry in through there over the next minute or so. Stiaz, of course, working on opening up the main balcony, and Hyper trying to take advantage upon these openings, but won't really find an opportunity to do so. Instead, just going to continuously chuck in these magnets to try and mitigate the flash dump that will more than likely follow the opening of this wall at some point in the next 30 seconds or so to bleed out all that extra utility. Panba, with this breach as well through stage, a nice cutoff for him to potentially catch any early entries into the bar area, but he's got to be careful, of course, as this is also a double-edged sword. They can just as easily fire the shots back out against him, and Spirits has already noticed this setup, so he'll be calling that out to the rest of his teammates if XSET try to send anyone in that direction. Does not look like it, though. XSET prioritizing the main balcony breach as well as the garage right now.
I don't think Spirits is going to be too worried about his positioning here. He has to worry about the angles that he can adopt, but he can't use a nitro cell or anything of the sort to try and prevent plant from down low, and there's some hard info on where that plant's going on. There's going to be a nitro cell out. That's not going to do a dang thing, unfortunately enough, for DarkZero, as all the XSET members are pretty safe out behind cover right now around the garage area. Minute 20 seconds remain for XSET to start pushing their way into the building. They've been waiting for the DarkZero mistake, but it just has not came.
Panba with the angle to finally strike, though. He's going to be able to catch Diaz, but thankfully Finka's in play, so Diaz will be brought right back up from the grave with that Adrenal Surge being used. Clutch play there from XSET, and a nice denial coming in. His Spirit's now going to get his revenge against Panba, taking him down and giving XSET instead the opening advantage here. A close fight between Eclipse and Kino once again goes the way of XSET, and it continues to fall their way with Gomez picking up an additional frag. NGR and Canadian, the only ones left. NGR with positioning on site, and 2 Toxic Babes, and now Canadian fighting things out from down over by stage. He's got a long rotate, though, to get himself back in a position where he can potentially support NGR, so things are still going to be tense while he does so. However, it looks like XSET are giving DZ the respect they need in this situation here. NJR still stuck back. No one from XSET inching in on his position. They want to drone him out first, but that's also going to give Canadian the time he needs to rotate. Thankfully, they strike true, taking not only him down, but Canadian as soon as they enter the site through top red.
I was getting really worried there for just a second because it didn't seem like XSET had anybody actually pushing for the information. And luckily enough, Yaga's there just in the nick of time. And we were talking milliseconds away from Canadian actually getting back into the site where things could have really went the way of DarkZero. But unfortunately for them, XSET will be able to answer the call and get that last frag. So extremely well done from XSET inside of that round, taking their time and waiting for DarkZero to make a misstep and then punishing it severely. I think the biggest thing for XSET, though, is that they really didn't do anything about the Panba situation that was, I mean, really good. There's nothing to really talk about with that.
Yeah.
They knew he was there as well, so personally I think it's a little bit of a misstep from Spirits in the way that he shot called that situation, because he had everybody push in from garage, and that angle was still extremely susceptible to Panba's location, and Spirits wasn't doing anything to try and bait that out. You know, you don't have Pambazu shaking the garage fight and then he's swinging for stage or something like that. So it was a little ill-advised at that moment, but fortunately enough for XSET, their IGO was on top of it when it came to capitalizing on that past the point.
I agree wholeheartedly. XSET, if I have to give my opinion on it, have a dangerous amount of patience is probably the way I'm going to try and phrase this right now, as they seem perfectly okay to just sit on the outskirts of a site and bleed out like 30 seconds to a minute, if not more than that, in hopes that someone from DZ peeks out and they can take advantage upon that. And so far, that's been the correct play, because someone from DZ has overstepped their bounds. But if DZ cool off here, back themselves up, I could see this going very poorly, very quickly for XSET if they have to make the first move here. Okay, speaking of which...
I was waiting for you to figure it out. Spirits has Blitz, and this could be some fun. Round 4, we're already starting to take the kitty gloves off. We'll see if Spirits Adaptation works up against DarkZero, who's currently on an extended hold all the way upstairs currently, so this could play pretty favorably into the hand of XSET.
Are going to need to once again clear out that extended game from DarkZero, and this took a pretty dangerous amount of time on the previous round. That's a large part of how DarkZero was able to successfully fend off the attack in the basement when we finally came down to that last 30 seconds, because XSET really didn't properly manage the time here in terms of clearing things out and did not leave themselves anywhere near enough to fully investigate the basement, so a lot of mistakes were made inside of that execute. DZ here, but not seemingly too keen on actually taking a fight. As you can see, all 3 members of the extended game have already fallen back to the first floor, still with presence here, and they're going to be able to strike with it too. Eclipse catching Gomez, knocking him down. That's the Finka knocked out. We saw how useful she was in the previous round, able to save Diaz's life. But now Panba just ready for more. They had the drone intel and everything, but the follow-up is just a little bit too quick as Panba expects it. So a second kill now goes the way of DarkZero.
I mean, XSET, you've brought Blitz, but you haven't used it to actually get into a fight with any of the roamers at all. So now what's the game plan? DarkZero, they have so many bodies to throw at this situation. I highly doubt Spirits is going to be able to get away with too much here. And I mean, past that point, he still has to worry about all of the Banshees downstairs that have been set up by Pambazu. So now you're not able to really rush down anybody in any convincing capacity, so you're more than likely just going to get shot in your ankles. A Nitro Cell out, that's a dead Kino, and it's 5-2 in favor of DZ at the moment.
That's also the case down. No one near Kino to retrieve it either, so they're going to have to waste another 20 seconds or so scrambling to grab that. Spirits, thankfully, he's got the shield here, saves his life under these circumstances. Diaz doesn't even bother to grab the case. He just leaps down the moto hatch into the site, because unfortunately there's not really much else that XSET can do here. They may have decided the round is lost before they even started this final fight, and Panba just dumps the remnants of his impacts here to finish off the round, chucking them in there to make sure that this one goes securely into DZ's hands.
I mean, that's one way to catch a Pokemon. Just keep throwing the balls at them and hoping that one of them wins.
That's how I play Pokemon Go, I think.
Yeah, I think that's how most of us play Pokemon Go. I'll be honest with you.
Throw enough balls until it catches it.
Yeah, but as of now, it's a 2-2 scoreline after DarkZero's very convincing round 4. Love the strategy from them there, punishing XSET early and forcing them to try and make their way towards site. This is something that is a hallmark of Clubhouse's versus gameplay and something that DarkZero is looking to continually exploit up against a team like XSET. They're fantastic in their gunfights, but if you can mitigate that early on and make it to where they can't exactly trade out in a way that they would initially want to, now all of a sudden you got a game on your hands. And that's exactly what DarkZero have done. If you saw it inside of that last round, they get the first initial pick, they play Turtle back downstairs, they get the Nitro Cell kill, and then they just play for the drops. We're just going to hold and see if anybody wants to try and make somewhat of an aggressive play, and then they gave it to them yet again. I mean, all the way down to the point where the last person alive on XSET happens to be the Blitz, which should never happen, but it is what it is.
So downstairs, once again, fielding success for the DarkZero roster. Upstairs, yet to see that just yet, however, so still a very large potential alive for a 4-2 half here if XSET comes right back and wins both of the upstairs sites for themselves on the second go-around. Now, at least the bedroom hold was fairly close for DarkZero, so not going to count them out of this just yet, and maybe giving us a bit of a closer half either, but at the same time, XSET seems to know how to handle these upstairs clears without too much of an issue. Panba will be holding over here, but okay, never mind. It's not even where the action's happening. Apparently, it's Yaga to shut down Canadian with a question mark to follow it as he goes down.
I think all of us are trying to find him at the current moment. I don't know exactly where he went down. All the windows are put together. Oh, there it is. I think he might have jumped outside off that. I don't really know there. But either way, that's super unfortunate for DarkZero because Canadian's been the best player inside of this game thus far. Yeah, DarkZero's been able to shut down XSET once it gets to the point that they're actually executing like the last round. But a lot of this has been heavy lifting from Canadian inside of these initial engagements.
So Canadian down. Certainly can see some of the other players like Eclipse step up to the plate here potentially over the next 2 minutes, but you are indeed correct. Statistically, things are going to look a little bleak for DarkZero throughout the rest of this round. XSET will certainly be happy about claiming that kill, but they're also not going to let off the gas anytime soon here. Panba immediately shooting out that Claymore and knocking down Gomez as well. Beautifully played. He knows where it is. Spirits, he's here for an exchange, but he's got more than one player to deal with, and he's not ready for it either. The roam game decimating XSET at this point, but despite that, look, they've kept up. Keno's found yet another frag, and somehow we're still even into a 3v3 now.
XSET have been so good all stage at being able to manage this man count and try and keep things equal, and they've done it yet again here, John. Round 5 is still looking palatable for them, even though DarkZero have arguably played this situation better. Also, speaking of the Pambazoo situation, that's why you got given 2 Claymores. Claymore both sides of that window. Otherwise, you're at risk of somebody carrying what side that you placed it on and potentially killing you while you're on drone on rappel. XSET, oh no, not like this DarkZero! Not like this DarkZero! They know the angles, and Keno, like a wrecking ball, walks through them. Stand tall, my friend.
Keno just literally waltzing in and picking up kills like it's nobody's business but his own. Beautiful stuff from Keno there as he helps in huge part to save the round for XSET. After as well, this perfect play at blue in the front door from the members of DarkZero. All matter not because the clear from XSET was just far too clean from the garage side.
So very well played from XSET there. Shadow play that, Pamba. Oh my goodness. I mean, it was a heck of a play from Pambazoo. And again, that goes back to what we were talking about before. Just the audio cue that he got for the Claymore and everything else built up to that moment. And it's really unfortunate that DarkZero couldn't hit their mark, just given how much he got done in those circumstances. So for DarkZero, they might want to try and play it closer to the chest when they have these engagements going on around, because it seems like XSET, once one of these situations starts to pop off, they start looking for the firefights to try and equalize across the board. So, you know, for DarkZero, it might be one of those things where they kind of want to try and back things off and force XSET to go even farther with that potential, you know, comeback inside of the man advantage, because then you can punish them even harder in that situation, right? You get those 2 bodies, somebody overextends himself, you get the 3rd, and now XSET are down 3 people.
Slight change up there on the attacker lineup. Nothing major, though, as Gomez is just going to switch over to a Yana to add those extra frags instead of the Zofia, which would have had the more universal utility here. Away from that, though, it's going to be the usual clear from XSET instead of, okay, maybe not here. Panba potentially going to try and open up this door and go for a swing, and he strikes again so smooth, so quickly, and he sends out the question mark in response after what happened in the last round. Love it from Panba there as DZ are up ahead yet again at a 5v4.
What's the difference between APAC, EUL, and NAL, John?
The banter?
The banter. Thank you. That's exactly the difference. North America.
Diaz is the one who threw out the question mark in last. Diaz is like, what did I do?
Diaz is like, hey, man.
What did I do to deserve this run out?
Why do you have to come at me? There's no point of that, Pambazoo. If anything, that's illegal activity. You can't do this. You're bullying. bullying.
Let's see how XSET try to make up for this deficit. We've already seen them attempt to do this before. And
that's super unfortunate to get onto things that actually matter, John.
Yeah.
The fact that they've lost Maverick in this situation, I mean, what else could you want when you're on DarkZero's squad at the current moment than getting rid of the Maverick? They're going to be down to 2 Selma charges on Kino to try and get something done when it comes to this site. Looks like they'll start things off on Jacuzzi, and they'll be successful getting the right panel open.
good nade utility clear coming in here, too. One thrown underneath the mattress in case you guys were trying to figure out how those got destroyed there. Those are coming from Gomez, excuse me. His nades down below, so he takes out that bit inside of the main bedroom area and then inside of the kitchen, or rather the bathroom as well, and he's going to find a very nice headshot to equalize the equation down to a 4v4, but he's maybe not out of the fight just yet. Has to back away from things. We'll switch our POV, though, over to Pan, but oh, what? That was, what? How?
Did he just crawl that up under him?
He just snuck that right up against him and took him out with a Rotero drone.
Goodness.
That's the first time I've seen
that.
Oh, no! Kino with the swing. DZ just cannot win. They're doing everything correctly, but it's not working against the chaos that XSET brings to bear in nearly every single round. Kino's got the plant down. Hyper's alone in the 1v3. He can't even peek the corner without immediately getting shot at here, let alone actually commit to the angle. Why not go the other way now? Because the first one didn't work, and you can see it's just futile for DZ. No matter what they do, no matter how correctly they play the situation, XSET plays it better.
So many influential frags coming from XSET. It always seems like there's something in the works for this team. And you can see it yet again inside of that. The Yana just rotating up main stairs, getting the initial frag. And I'm telling you, John, I'm pretty sure that Rotero drone blew him up from underneath. I'm pretty sure they crawled it like on top of the bar, jumped up to the ceiling, because if you turn it on, it latches to whatever it matches to.
True.
So you could potentially crawl it up some walls and actually blow things up. It's something that we saw on YouTube, on Twitter a little while ago, where somebody actually showed that you could do that pretty easily on coastline of all maps, so default plants and billiards. You can actually crawl it up the side of the wall, and it's the same thing in Penthouse with the bathroom as well on that map. So there's a potential that did happen, but don't worry, guys. I'm sure we will find out later on exactly what happened, and just make sure you pay attention to social media if we can't get that clip.
The attackers stole a couple nitro cells from the defensive lineup. I think that's what happened.
And just like taped them to a drone.
Just taped it to a drone. It was like, oh, what are you talking about? It's a Rotero drone. Like,
Flores actually isn't that smart. He just like found 2 pieces of things and duct tape, and like slapped it together and was like, I mean, yeah, man, I guess it's a drone. Sure.
That deep voice admin's gonna have to give out some penalties for the first time in whatever this training ground's called history. Anyway, let's get back into the round here, as it is still XSET dominating right now at 4v2, coming off the attacking side as well. Some of you guys may be like, oh, 4-2, it's still a close game. Remember, this is going to be Clubhouse, folks. This is one of the most defensive-sided maps, at least in the past it has been, that we have had inside of our rotation. So you expect the defenders, generally speaking, to be leading in that department, but not so much the truth anymore, as we're starting to see in more and more of our games.
Oh boy, do I have some stats for you. Granted, there's only 1 game played on this map in the entirety of Stage 1 of the NAL.
So a bit skewed.
Yes, but a bit skewed, but 33% defensive win rate overall at the current moment, with Church and Arsenal, wouldn't you know it, being the most defendable site inside of the NAL as of right now, which is a far cry from what we had seen in the past just for overall play for Clubhouse. This is a North American hallmark, if I do say so myself.
I think we casted that game too, and if I'm remembering it correctly, it played out very similarly to the way this one's playing out, where like the attackers are just sneaking off those extended games, finding those extra kills, and then managing to get some really crazy entries in order to win the actual attacks themselves. Oh man, this is not a good start for DarkZero either. Panba down. This is another one of the brightest stars in the team. We talked about the impact of losing Canadian a few rounds back. Now the same is going to be true for Panba, just seeing what he did in those last few rounds, and he's on the Finca, which makes it even worse. They've lost a lot of their execute capability. This nitro from Spirits probably won't lead to a whole lot. Yeah, just going to go a little too wide on the arc there, and we'll see that defender fall back into the oil pit. Eclipse does have the cutoff for him, so okay, chance for a trade, but just too quick, man.
What a defensive showcase from XSET so far. I mean, this is the most aggressive we've seen a defensive unit on Clubhouse from both the games that we've played.
Run Spirits.
Yeah, every single window so far has been manned by XSET. They're trying to take every potential fight that they can possibly find, and as of right now, it's working out for them. Only 1:10 for DarkZero to get anything done. Granted, they do have a lot of drone utility still, but they really don't have the pieces of the puzzle threshold required in order to get a case down. With XSET still on the roam game, at least for Yaga's sake, I mean, there's so many different ways that XSET can try and thwart this off.
I don't even know if they're going to be aware of that position over by Red either, still being maintained by XSET here. Either way, they will have to watch out for it. Gomez will be the first to be caught. That'll be the Thunderbird deployed inside of the site on an anchor roll here. Eclipse will take a little bit of damage fighting from his position here, but nothing really to write home about. Instead, it's Kino that takes a large majority of it as he fights from somewhere deeper in the site. Also, Yaga finally been activated, but walks right into the crosshairs of NJR, and he just changed them together. A second kill now coming out from NJR as he grabs Kino also. Things are looking a lot better here suddenly for DZ as XSET is misreading the plot, but important kill there for Diaz. He drops the case. Now he's got to stay alive and defend it. There's another player from Blue trying to press him out. In fact, he's the only one remaining for his team, and he's got nowhere to run. Canadian takes him down, and DZ take the opener of the second half.
I mean, that's great for DarkZero, but I don't know what was going on with Yaga in that situation. His rotate back to site really doesn't make all that much sense there. Obviously, that was the call, right? That's why he's going back towards site. But to run down main in such a convinced way, like no one's going to be around the area when DarkZero have most of the map control around the site, you're really not going to find safe harbor trying to get into one of the main access points back into the basement. So it was just a huge oversight from Yog there, because if he's gun up, there's a huge potential that he wins that fight, and NJR, well, can't do anything any longer. He won't get those 2 kills. You know, XSET actually have a very, very good chance to shut down the take from DarkZero like they already had before that situation happened. It was just quite bleak for XSET past that point.
XSET going to call that one as a bit of a fluke there, considering the one-sided nature of it, and try it again as they'll go back to the basement for a second attempt in order to try and restore the balance and give them back their +2 round advantage here. What would be a 5-3 scoreline, but if not, DarkZero potentially going to be tying the game up. DarkZero was expecting the site switch, is why we see Eclipse currently on the Thatcher over there. However, or on the Thermite, excuse me. But at the same time, we're going to see that already get picked away, so he'll end up on the Nomad. Much better anti-roam for this basement attack.
Now, the one thing to notate, though, is that Canadian is the only hard breach in this entire lineup. So if Canadian overplays his hand early and dies, all of these hatches are now locked. That's the big thing to notate for them. Now for DarkZero, though, they will have the option to actually lock up these stairwells in a pretty convincing way. And speaking of convincing, Pambazoo might actually already have a kill. I think they are. I think he's playing closer with a shotgun. I'm pretty sure this is smoke inside of dirt. This is the most common position for this, usually because you want to try and defend Dark Spot, which is right out there by the case under the hatch, and they usually smoke things off. I mean, I can't remember a time I was goddamn wrong, John. Kino, we'll be playing that situation. Dude, there's quite a few ways that I've been wrong in the past, don't you worry. I'm sure everybody at home will make sure to remind me. But either way, Pambazoo, he's going to skimper off out of dirt because he knows that more than likely Smoke's just waiting around the corner with a shotgun, and he's never going to win that engagement.
Continuing to patiently wait from upstairs. We'll see what he can potentially bring to bear. Bit of a hit and miss in the last round, but maybe he can be a bit sneakier this time as DarkZero continue to patrol mainly the first floor, not really investigating the upstairs site just yet, so may have not noticed Yaga's position, but they're certainly going to hear it as he continues to roam about the upstairs portion of the map here on the floorboards below them. We'll see that first can opener get used to pop open the blue hatch. Second one more than likely going to be deployed either towards motor or kitchen. Kind of obvious there, but we'll see what choice they make in a few seconds here. The kitchen hatch can be mitigated to some extent. They may not want to go that direction, so we'll take a look, and see where exactly Canadian wants to send this play in the next few seconds.
Now we are off into the land of Rainbow Six Theory. There is any way that this round can break down. Really, it's on the knife's edge at the current moment, given Yaga's situation upstairs. He can potentially, just end this entire round depending on how this rotation goes for him. But the same could be said for DarkZero. I mean, they could punish Yaga immediately on the drop or have Hyper pick up Kino just like that. So Yaga now has to do even more work here. Pambazoo is going to reinsert after he notices that the smoke is now gone. He's got dirt control, and Eclipse is already working his way into Dummy's box with the potential to plant.
Smooth plant procedure here from DarkZero. As soon as they get that opening kill on Kino, they have what they need, and they have the cutoffs for it as well. Smooth plant for Eclipse, no interruptions to it whatsoever. This is with like 3 nitros being spawned on the XSET side of things, only 1 available now, of course, but things continue to go in a very dark-sided fashion right now as they continue to rip apart things. That is, of course, until Diaz hops into the fight. So many players rotating upstairs, and JR just a sliver of health, and he can't maintain. Again, XSET coming out of nowhere with this near clutch, but it's not going to be enough. DarkZero still has far too much control, and with the clean plant they got, it's too easy of a post plant for them to be unfortunately thwarted here.
Yeah, very well done from DarkZero, but I mean, for XSET, my friends, they're playing really, really well into the roam game, but the problem is that the roam is not doing anything for them. DarkZero is completely ignoring it. Yaga's not making any rotations to pick up any frags or be a nuisance. When you're on the roam game, your job is not to kill people. I don't know if you guys know that at home, but I'll tell you right now, it's not. What it is it's to waste time and be annoying. If you are that player where you can just be the thorn in somebody's side the entire time and not die, you are a roam game player. That's exactly what you should be doing. So for Yaga, it was super unfortunate there because he never really got the chance to actually do anything up against DarkZero. He just had to rotate into their post plant setup and just get sent right into the meat grinder. There was really nothing he could do past that moment. So now for DarkZero, they'll be able to tie things up yet again here. It's up to XSET to answer a lot of our questions as to how they need to play out these next couple of rounds.
Tying the game up, will it stay that way, or will we even potentially see DarkZero take the lead, or XSET? Will their choice to move the site finally bear fruit for their defensive half and allow them to just barely hold on to things in what would be a 5-4 scoreline? DarkZero, though, looking prominent, especially with their basement clears, but that's where we've continued to see, at least in the NAL in both games between this one and the previous map played on Clubhouse. This is where we've generally seen the defensive teams excel, so XSET having to move beyond that, not being able to close one down, is a bit of a bad sign if that continues to show signs of struggling on the other upstairs sites that they are now trying to control.
Yeah, also the potential for the coin to catch up here, as I believe it did select DarkZero, and all of us selected XSET. So we're finally over the hump.
Listen, when Mirage started winning those rounds earlier and the coin picked that one, I was like, there's no way. There's no way this coin is actually ethereal.
Yeah, right. It's almost clairvoyant sometimes.
Yeah, that's
I feel
probably a better word.
It's so crazy the games that are old shoes and the way that those end up going. But as you said, it always makes it to where you have that little inkling in the back of your head of, okay, well, there might be a chance. And speaking of chances, DarkZero have a very good chance of taking the round here in the lead for the very first time as things begin to build. We'll get the jacuzzi wall open here, more drones into the works to try and figure out where the positioning of XSET is at the current moment. But won't be too hard to find the smoke of Kino, currently tucked behind his smoke inside of the bathroom.
Nades are going in to try and knock out the Mute Jammer that's currently supporting Kino's position with a Selma sitting on the other side of it. Unsuccessful in taking it out, though, despite a few nades going in. Canadian, for instance, trying to throw another Rotero drone at it, but still too far away. That Jammer is tucked way deep in the corner to support his position, so it's actually pretty hard to probably get something in there like piece of utility such as a Rotero drone. Nade would more than likely be the best bet to approach that, but I think, okay, never mind. They still have two more sitting on NJR, so they could potentially try and do that here. And actually, yep, we're going to see that thrown in, but he cancels it probably at the last moment here. Could have ended up leading to a kill. Still could lead to one here as Kino's going to be thrown into the corner. Oh, but he's given the warning with all those other nades chucked at him before the frag comes out. So he's able to survive it, but forced into the open just seconds later into the waiting arms of NJR, who has no problem taking him down.
Now, what does DarkZero do with this man advantage? That's the question. They'll hop into Gem, they'll lose Canadian, and almost another as Gomez bounces back and forth between angles. They'll be playing this from construction, but Eclipse has the off angle inside of the bathroom. Currently, Case in his hands as well, as Hyper's trying to take some fights over inside of CCTV. DarkZero have not found the grounds in order to put this bomb down just yet. NJR will continue the oversight, but what a shot from Gomez there. He'll end Hyper's entire career, at least for this round, but DS will be traded back. Bamboozle will get one more, and DarkZero will pull ahead. They have the angles, they have the stuns, and Eclipse starts the plant as he'll hop off and try and see if any of the XSET members will push.
NJR catching yet another player from outside on the rappel. Nitro's out, but it's way out to left field. They're not even close to any of the members of DZ, unfortunately, so the plant's going to go down with no interruption. Gomez as well, getting his head clotheslined off as soon as he tries to reascend up to the second floor. It's DZ in control in the second half right now as they are rocketing back into first place in this game and only a few more rounds away now from shutting down the map entirely.
I mean, XSET, they're having sparks of life on their defensive side, but DarkZero are playing a better game at the moment. The way that they're working the map and the way that they've been able to exploit XSET's aggressive tendencies on defense have been paramount to their success. I mean, especially now that they've pulled ahead here, it looks like they've got a very good read onto how XSET wants to try and play out these rounds, and Canadian is just running away with it.
The roam game specifically from XSET just leading to no results that they can really write home about here, and unfortunately, their actual anchor presence inside of the site is pretty lackluster too. partially because of the fact that we have so many players from XSET usually committed off-site by the time that DarkZero is ready to move in themselves. So hopefully a return to this site inside of Cash and CCTV will yield better results, because generally speaking the teams are going to be locked a bit closer to the site overall, so there'd be an expectation that they'd be able to fend things off a bit more directly. Meanwhile, for DarkZero, huge repick coming in, and nearly every single operator except for Eclipse is going to get changed. Maverick being added, Ace, Finka, as well as, again, we're going to see those Reterra drones come out from Canadian. He's not actually changing, but he just probably wanted to feel part of the team there, so he's switching as well.
You know, I love the lineup that DarkZero is bringing here, because this is the guys we can't possibly screw this up lineup. That's what this
is like overcompensating for their
exactly.
utility to the nth degree.
One of my favorite things to see, especially from teams that have just came together, so this really doesn't, you know, say anything too much about DarkZero, but I always love to see those overcompensation lineups, because it makes it to where things are a little bit easier for you. You know, you lose NJR here, you lose Hyper here, you still have Eclipse at the end of the day to get something open. So, you know, it just makes it to where you can play a little bit more aggressive and go for some more playmaking across the board for all of your players instead of just a couple of them. So for DarkZero, they're starting us off early here. We'll blow open the wall that Spirits will currently be manning here, as CCTV now has a fresh hole.
There's a drone that's come up and spotted out his position. Takes him a minute to spot it, but there we go. You guys saw it a few minutes prior when I was droning up there. So he will be revealed. No surprises in that position, though. It's a fairly common spot to be played by pretty much any team here. Second breach can be used to give them access to construction. That will drive a small wedge between the players currently extending their game over towards the inside of the bedroom and the rest of them inside of the site itself. Canadian will continue to cause havoc here. We're going to see the Reterra drones coming in for him to open up the wall, potentially make Spirit's position a little bit less defendable, as well as open up a path for any members of DZ that want to execute through the garage. They do have 3 players standing directly next to the breach, seemingly ready to rock and roll here for the push. So we'll see if they have the confidence to go for it this early. More than likely not, though, as they would want to establish a secondary angle. And if they can, clear out this player that they've just yellowed.
There you go.
Good saving grace coming in for the cash hold, though, as they knock out that Selma and prevent their teammate from being revealed. So they're just going to force the issue here, and this is looking a little dodgy for DarkZero for the first time in the half here. Yaga immediately cuts one of them off. We've got this whole plethora of utility trying to eat up utility for Spirits, but it's all for naught as Hyper just takes him down outright. Thankfully, Kino's here. They can only push so far as there's an M590 waiting for them, but Kino, as well, has some difficulties knocking out Panda because of his deployable shield. Corrects it quickly, though, and now we've got DarkZero with a very tepid hold inside of the site. Yaga striking down Eclipse before he can establish a good cross position just outside of the site window, though, and now Canadian falls, leaving Hyper alone inside of a 1v4 here. Case is down as well. Kino's got freedom to roam out, so he finishes off nice and quick with one final pump of the M590.
Extremely poor execution there from DarkZero. They get the wall open, but they kind of just sit on their laurels past that moment.
It seemed like they wanted to directly challenge it to an extent, like almost like it's a surprise play or something like that, but it was like
Exactly.
It didn't really work.
And the other problem is like, yeah, you want to directly challenge things, but you're doing it in the most grandiose fashion you possibly could for CCTV. Not a single team is like, yeah, we're going to go with a one-dimensional attack, and we're going through the wall. That's what we're doing. Like, the counter angles there are just way too strong from the defense, and that's exactly what we saw. They weren't able to cover Spirits inside of Garage. They couldn't get anything going around the top of Red. The cross was too strong. Yeah, Hyper eventually runs in, challenges, and wins.
NJR,
but that's a coin flip right there, John. Yeah. You're coin flipping to kill the guy in Garage. So, I mean, for DarkZero, it just seemed like they thought that they could get a lot done with a little amount of control, and it was definitely not the case. I mean, even Eclipse tries to go to the back end of the site and pick up Yaga in construction, and he still wins the fight.
You can even see like NJR trying to like coin flip his position by window there too, just rappelling up to it very late to try and add a secondary angle that executes. It seemed like DarkZero like maybe saw something that wasn't entirely true and thought they could execute upon it, or something else, maybe just like a brash of confidence that wasn't really placed properly. What a bit weird for DarkZero. But the good news is we're heading back to a site that they've already controlled the attacking rounds on twice, so they might not be down and out of this one just yet.
Yeah, I think that the strategy for DarkZero would work, but I don't think it works on a site like CCTV.
Yeah,
I think that if you take it to basement, you take it to, even Master, I think there's something that works there for you because of how XSET set up their defenses, right? It's very extended. They really like to take their fights early on and see if they can potentially deal some, round-ending damage, early inside of these rounds. So for XSET, that site, you're more than likely going to have to play it more congested overall, and that's where DarkZero ran into problems. All of XSET's bodies, they're concentrated around the site, so there's no way that you're going to win out that situation. Just very unfortunate.
They were either in the site or somewhere nearby in like garage or construction.
Yeah,
so,
the bat signal goes up and everybody's home, you know?
Yep.
So.
So like I said, with XSET, that's what they needed. They needed a site where they really couldn't play too over-aggressively into their extended game, and that was exactly the site they needed to play into to accomplish that. The problem, though, is they're now going back to the basement, which is the direct opposite of that. And they've already got an even heavier commitment to the upstairs room this time. It's not just Yaga anymore. Now it's Yaga and Spirits that are going to be committed up here. So in the event that DarkZero bypasses this again and goes straight for the execute, they've got potentially an even easier time in front of them. However, it does look like DarkZero is paying them respect and is going to try to clear them.
I'll be honest with you. I think this is a much better setup, and I'll tell you why. I think having Spirits on roam with Yaga is going to be more successful than just having Yaga by himself, because you actually have a system to play off of. You have somebody up top that you can actually potentially swing somebody and get traded for. It just makes things a lot easier overall, so we'll see if they try and use that. Last thing that we saw, they were a little split, but actually Yaga's going to end up taking down Hyper, and that's a huge pick. The Zofia goes down. Pambazoo trying to get the kill on the secret player, but Yaga with 2. Pambazoo not paying attention. He gets gunned down by the cash swing, and now NJR has to try and pick up the pieces.
It's a rather unlucky round for Pan, but not a single bullet connecting out of that entire spray he committed to there. So a little bit of a shaky scenario for him, but all good as he'll get another chance on the next round. Might be his last chance, though, with the way things are going for XSET, as they once again have a massive advantage built into this round at a 5v3. DarkZero literally in the middle of a sandwich to some extent right now. The good news is the rest of the sandwich is heading to the bottom of itself, so we won't have to worry about that too much longer, as XSET is retreating from their extended position down into their bunker to wait out this last minute and 20 seconds here, since they have so much of an advantage.
And that's exactly what it will be, John. It will be a bunker from XSET. Just worried about the angles that could potentially work their way in from these access points, and JR trying to open up yet another one here for Blue. But as of right now, XSET are doing a bang-up job of playing this slow. This is where we've seen them overcompensate in the past, but this time around, not the case. And JR is going to get tagged up on the bottom of Blue, but it looks like he wants to try and recoup with the rest of DarkZero here, as Canadian will be opening up the bar hatch. Still has some skeleton key ammo to try and break up the flooring here as well, so he'll do so and try and find himself an XSET member, but on such low time, there's quite a bit still to do for DZ.
Nitro's out pre-placed by XSET. No sign of explosion just yet, but probably not going to see too much of a delay on it being used, since Canadian is peppering the floor where it's placed right now. See it blow up there. Unfortunately, not lead to a whole lot. So Canadian's got the all clear to go ahead and use the second can opener to pop things open here by the kitchen hatch. What's going to be enough is okay. NJR just brute forcing his way, and they don't even realize it either. He gets so much free damage off. The good news for XSET, as there's a player over by Dirt Tunnel, so that counters the position of NJR fairly quickly. What a shot from Eclipse, though, on the 5.56, but he can't maintain past that. The Dirt player again trading him down, leaving Canadian on his lonesome, and XSET on map point as they clean him up as well.
That dirt position is just so hard to dislodge on the offensive side, let alone given the fact that they were down on people and simply just couldn't hold the angle from the hatch either. That's actually going to end up ending the round for DZ. And for XSET, it's going to be the lead yet again for them at 6-5 as they'll head towards Gym Bedroom to try and end this off the back of a extremely successful roam game. DarkZero really haven't had to challenge it too much just given the circumstances. XSET mostly just resting upstairs, not really too much going on. Yaga had to rotate back down and just get gunned down from DarkZero member time and time again. They throw Spirits up there on the roam with him, and it works out masterfully. And not only does the initial kill go to Yaga, but also DarkZero, and specifically Pambazoo, thrown off by Spirits, rotating back down into secret stairs, and then all of a sudden Yaga swings from cash. He just caught off guard by the extra member, and he loses his life as well. From that point on, DarkZero really didn't have any way to challenge XSET in a positive way.
So for XSET, it's now do or die time, quite literally, as far as regulation points are concerned. We talked about this at the beginning of the game. Keep in mind these two teams have the same exact record. XSET is in front because of a round differential right now, and would continue to be in front, obviously, if they won this, not only because they'd have more points, but in the event they were tied in a head-to-head tiebreaker, XSET would then win it. The big piece that XSET is looking for, though, is safety inside of the top 4 to make sure they're going to the major, and the best recipe for that is closing this game down now inside of regulation to get the full 3 points, instead of taking it to OT, where they're at best going to get 2. So let's see if they can accomplish that goal and shut it down here, as they are going back to another upstairs hold.
You can see from XSET's demeanor at the current moment that this is more than likely known amongst the team. No one going for an early aggressive assault towards the outside of the building. Just trying to play this one closer to the chest and see if they can get one more over on DZ, which would end this in regulation. Like John was saying, they really want those 3 points. Yaga's going to be holding things down inside of server and cache for the time being. The single panel will get blown up inside of construction, so this will open up a new avenue for DarkZero to exploit later on in the round. They'll also end up opening CCTV as well, so a lot new facets for XSET to potentially worry about.
Things continuing to devolve here. Just the early stages of the opening, however, for DarkZero, as you can see them getting access to not only the primary balcony over on east side, but the west side jacuzzi balcony now being popped also. So DZ have access to both ends. Need to try and burn this candle quickly, though, as they only have 2 minutes remaining here in order to get access, and we have seen them, as well as XSET, come to a bit of a slow crawl here and trying to deal with some of the utility.
Oh, no!
Kino, though, is such a sneaky position. We saw it coming. You guys probably gasped at home, but we knew it. Kino lining it up, taking down Panba, and once again knocking down one of the brightest stars in the DZ constellation.
That's just insult to injury right there for DarkZero. The lack of Pambazoo going forward is going to mean so much for XSET's chances of closing this out. No longer having to worry about the LMG nades or the adrenal surges. XSET can simply wait for DarkZero's next move, and if they're able to thwart it, that's more than likely the game. NJR will be playing the master balcony for right now, seeing if XSET will potentially make a mistake. It's one that they really are looking for at the current moment. A Nitro Cell out, and that might just be it. Canadian goes down. Eclipse starting to take damage as well. NGR still going to be the lone soldier manning this portion of the map. Hyper now trying to enter in via cache as well. Can he potentially be the part of the puzzle that ends it for XSET, slip in behind this team, and at least get a 2K? Nothing more, nothing less, as that's the only chance that they try and get back into this. But as of right now, they continue to delay John, and it's getting worrisome. Eclipse, he tries to push in. He's lost the case. Nobody working together. Hyper gets gunned down. Is it a flawless round? No, it won't be. Spirits will actually lose his life, but XSET still wins. Bodega, you beautiful man. Talk your piece. Talk your piece.
We can't even hear you. We can't even hear you.
They are looking so good right now. I can translate for you. DarkZero, that was a very good game. I'm so happy we played against you guys today.
What a great game. I'm a very sportsman-like player. This is all positive things I'm saying right now, you know, like. But yeah, massive congratulations to XSET. Not only do they shut down DZ here 7-5, but they outclass them in so many different rounds in really fantastic ways. So continuing to show what this roster has to offer, much like we were talking about in our earlier game with Astralis, as new stars are starting to show themselves here in the North American scene, and it seems like this year could be a very bright one, not only for the mainstays, as we've been seeing other teams like Oxygen excel as well, but for some new challengers in our rosters like this for XSET and Astralis as well.
I don't know about you, but personally speaking, this is probably one of the biggest breaths of fresh air that we've had inside of North American Siege, and I don't even know how long. These two teams are fresh faces, people that we've never gotten to see play at this level, and it's truly amazing to just sit here and appreciate this, you know? For Yaga and Kino coming off of the Oxygen camp where, I mean, hey, they still did very well. In fact, winning Stage 1 last year, just like they're trying to do here. But for the rest of them, I think it's just really cool to see this team come together the way that it has and play to the caliber that they are.
And for DarkZero, I don't even think they necessarily played an awful game here either. I think they did pretty much most of their stuff correctly, but there are people a lot smarter than the two of us that are going to be ready to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. So that'll do it for myself and Stokes right now. We're going to send it to a quick break. When we do come back, we'll have your analysis desk ready, as well as an interview with our winner.
Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Hold you down till you try. Hold you down till you try. All the time, he's my mind. All the time, he's my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I might rent the Lambo and go drive it like it's on it. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grab my hand, gave me a notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like a ocean. I can't lie, really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you drop. Now we going. You feel feel alive, let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, my break a backbone. Return of the Mac, the king is back though. Corvette and cash, I never lack those. She saw the stone, you know how that go. Fatality, my diamonds that cold. Versace trunks, I hit my backstroke. Knock on the door, she at the back, bro. All I really take is a little taste. Island girl, blue eyes with a little bass. Here for the thrill, I don't need a chaser. Wanna vibe at the getaway. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, I got the semi-4 weight. Don't step out the line like this a probate. You hit the line and try to locate. This for the time, got time for no day. One, too many, I'm going. Too crazy and I got bad ones and they ready. A good time, so now it's in the whip we left at. Can't remember anything, but I know we got lit. Good times. Live in the moment, feel like summertime. Obsessed with nature, not a world mine. The room is spinning, but I feel fine. Oh my. Chandelier, limousines. Really think I'm seeing things. Read the line in mid-between. Yellow light, I gotta speed up. Get home to a cold shower. Need that pronto. Look like a rave at the condo. Heck of a night in Toronto.
Welcome back, everybody, to Rainbow Six NAL. Doa Jesse Jacob here with you on the desk, and over in LA, we're in LA, over in Las Vegas, another city that starts with L, I suppose, is Yaga from Team XSET. Can you hear me, man?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, so, the other players on XSET are known for being very boisterous, yelling a lot, getting excited, but it seems like you sort of keep it a little bit more low-key. You keep it a little bit more calm. Are you holding yourself back to intentionally try to create balance, or is this just you? And I have to ask, too, if you wanted to yell something at the end of that series, what would it be?
I mean, I don't know what I would yell, but yeah, that's just the way I am. I don't know. I feel like I play better when I'm calm, so I just stay calm. I don't yell.
You have to be cool and calculated. All right. Have you ever yelled during a game? Have you ever been pushed to that point?
I don't think so. No, I don't think I've ever broke character.
All right. Well, we'll see if we can get you there by the end of the stage. We'll see.
You trying to break him, man? Come on.
No, it's trying to get some excitement.
Yeah, talking about that game a little bit, it felt like your attacks were really solid. You ended up a 4-2 split in that first half. There were some troubles. You guys had a little bit of problems dealing with some of that aggression early on, especially on those cash takes. How did you bounce back on some of those rounds that were starting to look kind of weak, especially taking on Cash, taking on Jim, and then pull through for the execute? What's going on in that mid round where you're starting to struggle?
I mean, I don't know. We just stayed calm with the aggression. Obviously, our basement attacks were pretty sorry, but that's something we can work on. We'll fix that shortly. But yeah, I don't know. The gym rounds were definitely hectic, so were the cash rounds. But I don't know. We just stay calm.
Yeah, fair enough.
You guys have a streak at the minute, by the way, 5-0 over the past couple of games, 5 games straight, which is something obviously you should be ecstatic over that kind of result. But are you looking ahead towards international competition, towards the major at the minute, or are you still focusing on everything game by game right now?
I mean, we're taking it game by game, but obviously, our expectation was to make the major. Our expectation is to do good at it, but we haven't made it yet. But we're on pace. We're looking good. We're feeling good. So hopefully we make it, and
Yeah, avoiding overtime in this series is actually a big step towards that, right? Because the points can be quite different. Looking ahead, what you say that you're expecting to make the major, was that a thought you had coming into the stage, or is that something where, after you turn the corner, after week 2, you start to think, all right, this is really, really possible now?
No, I mean, at least me, I came into the stage expecting to make the major. I know that, the ability that we have as a team, especially, with just scrimming before the matches. Obviously, the first week, we kind of had, the shakes, I guess, and we didn't play to our potential, because, our scrims were going great going into that, but obviously we fixed it going into the next games after the first week, so.
Yeah, I would say so. It seems fixed at this point. 5 maps in a row, that'll do it. But thanks for stopping by and answering some questions. Good luck tomorrow in your series, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, there you go.
Can I just read something real quick?
Go ahead.
Something that Bodega put on Twitter when
because
he was yelling at the camera as that game ended. We couldn't tell what he was saying.
He was. And we could try to lip read.
I mean, GG is in there. He says GG DarkZero, but then the Portuguese translation, you had your turn to show it, you couldn't, and now I'm going to show you how it's really done. I didn't forget you, now watch.
Wow.
5-game win streak is enough reason to have that level of confidence, obviously, but when that persists game over game, like good sound bit from Bodega, but can you really keep that going? Obviously, we haven't even gotten to international competition yet. This could be way different in the major. If XSET qualify and slump, he could be singing a very different tune, but I mean, has he deserved that kind of trash talk now?
I don't know. I mean, maybe he's talking about the major as well. That's something that DZ have struggled on in the past. Maybe he's thinking you had your shot at the major. Now it's our turn. We're going to go and we're going to show how North America or LATAM, depending on how you look at this team, can do it. But yeah, looking at the numbers as well for this game. Kino, the top frag, 14-6. Look at that entry stat, 4-0 from Yaga. That's the main thing that I'm looking at here. I said before this game started, DZ, if they want to win, they need to start winning more of those opening engagements. But when Yaga's on the other team with an LMG, that's tough.
That's not the first time that you said that.
No, I always do that.
It happens to the best of us.
Can you imagine if Finka had the Alta though, chat? Is that a good idea, or should we convince Yubi to not
Don't
let
give
that
the devs
happen?
any ideas,
I
Jake.
don't think that's a sentence that should have come out of anyone's mouth.
You know, at one point I just tweeted hashtag give Thermite the Alda as a joke, and people were like, please do this. I'm like, no, why?
So you got to be careful. You got to be careful of the power that you wield, you know?
What power?
Eventually people will realize.
Underestimate yourself.
I'm not even verified.
Oh,
I have
well,
no power.
Get wrecked. Anyway,
Thanks, man.
let's
Appreciate
check out some. You're welcome. Anytime. You know I got your back, man. I'm here to support. Let's go into some of the specifics from that last match. We've got some rounds to take a look at, and it's a number of different things. Jesse, why don't you walk on over to the Telestration area?
I would love to.
And we'll chat about that a little bit more, because there was a sequence of things. Starting back in round number 2.
Sorry, my mistake. Keep going.
Oh, you need your, okay, all right, cool. We're all good, we're all
Imagine
good.
having to put those on and not have them on all the time.
I mean, it's partially a practical thing, partially a style thing, but it's all skill. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Doa. Well, I wanted to highlight Pambazoo, because I think his defenses were really, really interesting on particularly the cache setup that they were running over on DarkZero. So I want to show you this clip. This is round number 3. So we'll take a look at what Pambazoo is up to. And particularly, I want to highlight how he's been roaming down on this bottom floor. If we can get the play button working at some point, might be a little bit, it happens.
Uh-oh.
Listen though, what I want to highlight is where he's actually playing on this bottom floor. Thank you very much, production. If we go down below and pause it right when we get this bottom floor view right here, what you'll notice is that Pambazoo is actually not playing where most bottom floor roamers like to play. Typically, you're playing right in, where is it down here? Okay, we're playing down here in the lounge area, right over here, where you're able to see, into the garage, but you can also take a look at the front door. You can look into stock as well. But what Pamba's doing is he's actually playing inside of stock itself, which is not typical because you've got 2 different sight lines that come from the outside that can focus Pambazoo down. Very difficult for him to survive while playing in this area, but thankfully for him, XSET don't manage to contest him. He's got sight lines that go into the bar, and he's got the hatch open that he can drop down in. Now, XSET make in my opinion, pretty bad mistake here in that they don't try to clear out Pambazoo directly. If we press play, we'll see they're so focused on this garage take that they're actually not able to do anything about Pamba's long cross. Look at Diaz, he's looking for the angle, loses the gunfight, gets downed, back up. This is the power of the Finka, very nice, and Spirits will clear it eventually. So it ends up working out for XSET, but interesting little change on the roam coming through from Pambazoo that almost finds value. If there was no Finka on the board, that would have been a kill for sure. Now, as we move on to round 5, and we'll take a look at the prep phase here, what you'll notice as we press play is that it looks like the same setup. It looks like Pambazoo is going to be down below. It's going to be his smoke player, NJR, who's going to drop the hatch from construction and set this site up for him. Now look at Spirits' drone. You can't see it exactly, but it's through the floorboards, and you can tell it's in bar, and it's actually watching for this setup. And Spirits is noting now that, okay, they're doing the same kind of hold down there inside of stock. So likely we just don't have to worry about Pambazoo. We know he's going to be playing down there. And we can clear him if we go for this garage take, but otherwise, it's not something that we're going to have to worry about. And initially, it looks like Pamba's going there. He's doing the same barricades over towards the front door. He's got these angles open. He's got the hatch open and the angle into bar open from stock. That's actually not where he's going to end up. Take a look at his positioning. Right there, top blue. That's not where you expect him to be. And he's going to sit there for a very long time. And actually, guys, Jacob, though, is there any way you can help me out? How does this round 5 end?
Well, it's the first time we see Pamba go for a run out. Eventually, he does just burst right through blue window, but it does take a second before it finally gets there. If we want to keep the clip rolling, you'll even notice that Claymores do get set up, I believe, because Gomez now has 2. Remember, with this patch, we haven't even talked about that yet. He does slap one just outside the window as XSET start to roll through, but Pamba, with plenty of time left, he bides his time. He sits in this corner for nearly the entirety of the round as multiple people from XSET start on their rappels. There's that Claymore we were talking about. When Pamba leaps out, as Yaga and the rest of XSET apply pressure, ensure the wall gets open, work around all these different angles, Pamba sits down here for most of this round, and here's where he jumps out. Claymore's there. He's already heard it because he was there in that corner when the Claymore got set. So once he jumps out, he knows the Claymore is on 1, gets that same rappel player, and then jumps right back in. This exact same thing persists into round 6. Impact grenade at the very top of the barricades, about to take it right down. Boop! And there's DS gone yet again. This is a good idea from DarkZero because you need something in the early play to stop XSET's early play. Not a bad idea in theory, but funnily enough, DarkZero lose both of those rounds. Neither one of them ends up working. It's a solo play from Panbazoo. You probably think if it's just one player offside and everyone else is playing on and bunkering down, maybe DarkZero have more of a chance. They still lose both of them in spite of that. So if you're countering the early play, great. You need to follow through with the rest of the round, and ultimately XSET got a 4-2 attacking half, and that was what catapulted them to the win today, I think.
So close, but yet so far. We're going to go to a quick break in a moment. Before we do, any final thoughts, Jesse, on that last map?
Listen, I thought that DarkZero and XSET put up a great game. DZ certainly had a lot of strong moments, a lot of strong starts even on that defensive half, but unfortunately not enough to hold it down, and that makes it very difficult for them to overlap some of these teams like XSET who might be in that tight race to make it to the major, so could have been a fatal loss from DarkZero.
Question for you real quick, XSET, are they going to the major?
At this point, if you can beat another top 4 team like that, yeah. I honestly think so. But I'm not going to lock that in until we see what they do for their last game of this week because, you know, that last game that they play next week might not even matter if they win tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see.
Fair enough.
XSET just might be going to Charlotte, though.
Would be exciting. XSET with one more game to play this week and then, of course, one next week. Got to make them count, of course. But that's going to do it for our 3rd match of the day. Don't go anywhere, though. 2 more maps remain on today for Rainbow Six NAL. It's going to be Sonics versus Oxygen coming up next. Going to be sick. We'll see you in a few.